This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Welcome back to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton. Now, today's guest is very special. She works for AQR International, who hold the licensing for Professor Peter Clough's Mental Toughness framework, and who trained myself for a period of time. So Maria Jeffers, she's a business development manager there. She has a passion for mental toughness and all things around performance psychology. She's also big into horses. She rides competitively, and she has a daughter who also rides competitively. So this episode is a little bit different, where we look at Maria's journey, her thoughts around mental toughness, how it applies into horses, and as a parent too. Right, Maria, would you like to explain a little bit about your background in horses, equestrian, and also your passion, your fascination for mental toughness?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, David. Yes, thanks a lot. So as a child, I rode horses and ponies from about the age of 10 up until around the age of 20, 21. At that point, sort of university kicks in, and you put some hobbies down and you go off and do other things. But in that time, I never competed. I didn't do pony club. It was purely for enjoyment and fun. And if I'm honest, looking back as a younger person, I used to look at those people going out to competitions and think, wow, how do they do that? And I didn't really push myself in that way. I just kept it nice and safe and just enjoyed being around the horses. So I got a lot from that as a hobby, but it was never a competitive sport for me. And then I've gone into my degree was in organisational development. And from that, I've worked within recruitment, within psychometrics. So it's very much then exploring psychology and personality and how that applies within the workplace. Never really a mention of sport, and it never really at the time crossed my mind that the two were so closely linked. I was totally focused on a career at that point. But I gained a deep understanding of psychometrics and how personality assessments are used to find out more about the person as a whole and how they fit into different roles within organisations.
Do you want to just talk a little bit more about that and the benefits of using psychometrics?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it used to be, many years ago, people would go along for a role within an organisation and would be interviewed. They may then have a second interview and then maybe give a presentation or a third interview and get the job. And then there was a lot of research done into, well, what is it actually? Let's break the job down. What's required? So the use of psychometrics would come in to measure specific abilities that are required. So it might be numerical, verbal ability. And then looking at, well, what personality are we after? Do we need someone very confident? Do we need someone who works well with detail? So that's where you'd use a personality assessment to measure that. And then at the final stage interview, you would feel as a recruiter that you've got a fuller picture of someone, that you understand them as a whole rather than just what someone's telling you, which is quite subjective, really. So it was to add that objectivity. So, I really enjoyed that role. I really, believed in, everything that's about, and I still do. And that's how I've really ended up. I knew Doug a long time, Doug Strahacek from AQR International. And I am now working with Doug and alongside, talking about mental toughness, and my role within the psychometrics obviously fitted into this.
And so how does, in your mind, mental toughness apply to equestrian?
Yeah, well, within looking at personality years ago, I was very much the assessments I was selling were to do with your behaviour and your style. So what you would see from someone. Whereas the mental toughness assessment is very much about how you respond mentally when events occur. So how do we respond when we're placed under stress, pressure, challenge, or there's an opportunity? Do we see an opportunity? So it's very much your thinking. It's measuring how we think, which often leads to behaviour, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the behaviour you see is different from the thinking. You can't see someone's thinking. That's invisible. And what I then started to understand more, learning more about the mental toughness assessment, is the origins in sport and how important it is as a performer in sport to have the right mindset to be positive, yet to be resilient as well. So it was really having a real blend of what we call mental toughness to be able to have the advantage against your competitor. Because what we know, it's an evidence-based assessment, the mental toughness assessment. So we know that it correlates positively with the 4 key themes of performance, well-being, aspiration, and agility. So it's something that there's a lot of research has gone into it. And that's really helped me now to apply this to myself. So now I'm back into the world of horses after a long, long break. My daughter rides, and she started when she was 6, and it sort of got me back into it. And now I find myself competing, and I'm out with my daughter at weekends, and we're going in the show jumping ring together. Not at the same time, but we're supporting each other, and we use this mental toughness concept to get us through those competition nerves and try and control ourselves the best we can when we're in those 4 minutes or so.
No, it makes sense. And obviously, you mentioned there about the mentally tough person is, I suppose, more adept at coping with stressors and challenges, obstacles, that sort of thing. What sort of things do you come up against?
Yeah,
in equestrian.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess there's so many different sports, isn't there? Within equestrianism, within horse riding, you've got that sense of there's a bit of fear attached to it. Just riding, just being on the horse. How is your horse going to be on the day? Because you've got a partner there with you. It's not where you're picking up a piece of equipment to go and perform yourself. It's down to how's your horse feeling. What messages are you sending to your horse? Because they are like a mirror. So if you're very stressed, they will probably get quite stressed themselves because they'll feel the tension down the rein. They'll feel your body. So they think, what's wrong? So it really is a case of you need to be able to control your own mind to help your horse relax and get into the right frame of mind. Now, you can imagine with children, that's quite difficult because if they get tense, it's very difficult to, it's different, isn't it? For an adult can maybe rationalize certain things. But I think what I find looking at the children is they don't get as stressed as adults. They're actually naturally go with the flow a bit more and they relax. Their little bodies are more relaxed. So that's what I love to see as well. But actually, it's often parents that can make a situation stressful for the child. And the child, can be okay if they just left more to it rather than over interfering.
No, that makes an awful lot of sense where you talk about the relationship between the person, the rider and the horse there.
Yeah.
Can we just spend a few minutes and we'll just dig into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
So I suppose knowing what you know now with your role and the coaching qualification you're going through as well, what strategies do you have up your sleeve to try and manage your emotions so that the horse is more relaxed and you're more relaxed as well? Yeah,
well, for me, I think I come to realize it was not about controlling your horse. It's like, forget that. It's not about controlling your horse. It's about controlling yourself. So you need to control yourself, your own mind, your own thoughts. So first of all, I needed to know, well, what are my thoughts that are running? I need to understand myself better. So I used the mental toughness assessment on myself. And that was part of my coaching program that I went through. So I understood where my thinking was. And that is against the 8-factor model that you talk about often, David, of mental toughness. So it's, there's 4 overall. There's 4 themes, isn't there, of commitment, challenge, confidence, and control. And they're broken down into 8 different factors. So the specific factors for me was my emotional control, the way that I think I would act on emotions a lot. So I understood that about my own thinking. I get very emotional and then I start to make decisions on the back of that. I show that I'm emotional. So I thought, right, okay, so that's an area that's definitely going to impact me in a negative way here. And then the other thing was my commitment. So my goal orientation, my goals could sort of move if my emotion wasn't there to back me up feeling good. My goal could be, I won't do that then. I won't join in that. I won't. So I was making decisions based on very much how I was feeling rather than staying committed to my goals. So that's something that I've worked hard on this year to stay very outcome focused. Forget the emotion. I'm going to feel how I feel. That's just going to wax and wane every day. I'm going to feel how I feel, but stay committed to what I've said I'm going to do. So whether that's a horse riding lesson or a training session myself just to ride or a show I've entered, I stay with that. I'm doing it. It's almost regardless of how I feel, I'm going to do that. And that's really helped me because I've become better at the emotional control because I've really practiced doing something when I totally don't feel like doing it. I felt better after.
Yeah, and there's so many people struggle with that, whether it's in sport or just day-to-day life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why they won't follow through with their goals and be committed. So on the horse though, how do you just, calm yourself down and like neutralize yourself in those moments? And you talked about fear and not get too fearful.
Yeah, well, I have to stay in my head. I've got to stay positive. So a bit of a positive mantra going through my head. So anything, I can do this. We've got this. I join, my horse. I say to her, it's like we're a team, isn't it? So I say, we're okay. We're okay. So sometimes I'm in the warm-up ring, because the warm-up ring can be quite stressful because you've got different horses going whizzing past you. We're all practicing jumping. 2 jumps are set up and there's 6 of us in there. People you don't know who all look stressed. So now I practice, I smile at everyone, try and make them feel better. So I understand everyone's feeling the same. And I have my positive mantra running through my head. So Izzy may be a bit more, my horse is called Izzy. She can have her head in the air a little bit more until she relaxes. And it's okay. It's all right. We're okay. And I'm talking to myself a lot, but I'm calming her as well. And then I just encourage her to go forward. So we go, I don't hold her back. I don't clamp on reins or stiffen my body. These are all natural responses. These are things your body's trying to protect you because you're going into slight flight mode. You sort of don't want to be there. There's part of you that just doesn't want to be there. You're thinking, why am I doing this? But you have to really push that thought out and say, no, I want to do this and we're doing it. So I just override the thoughts that are negative and really focus on my breathing and a positive mantra.
Well, one thing you talked about there was I suppose it was like the way you communicate to the horse. So the language, the tone of your voice. Do you find that the horse does pick up on that? So
they pick up on everything. I think they know things about us that we don't know. They pick up on everything. And that's what I find just so fascinating as well. If my horse is calm in the warm-up and calm going in when we first go into the ring, that to me, that's part of the accomplishment. So winning the competition, if I feel like I've gained partnership and trust and all those elements, that's part of that's what I'm trying to achieve. That's my goal. So it's
so in some ways, I'll rewind back as well. When earlier you mentioned a little bit about children there. So just thinking, got 2 young kids, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
My youngest is throwing a bit of a wobbler and tantrum, crying and stuff like that. Obviously, if I talk to him with a sort of kind, caring, compassionate voice, it's more likely that he's going to calm down and faster than if I'm a bit harsher and my tone's not. Yeah, shut up, will you? That's not going to help at all.
Yeah.
So likewise, it's a very similar theme that you're talking about with the horse.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, it is. When you get, sometimes you see some riders and it's easy to get like, stop it, don't do that. And all of it, it's getting all tense and shallow breath and you're trying to control your horse, but actually it's making it worse. And we've all, it's easy to get that way. But you are better just really calm. If you practice calming yourself down off the horse, it doesn't even have to be on the horse, and then really say to yourself, that is for me, that's like my aim. So when I get on, I know I have to really work on my own mind control and just staying calm and breathing, because all that oxygen that gets pumped around your body. I mean, I've finished jumping before and it's literally like I can't breathe. And it's because I haven't been breathing. I've literally been going round, not breathing. So my horse has been getting probably tenser and tenser and tenser, and I'm not taking a breath. And they feel all of that as well. So I'm making the job so much more difficult. But now I make sure that I'm coming into a fence, take a deep breath and breathe in. I've got breath coming in and out, and the horse feels that rhythm and relaxation, becomes more rhythmic and calmer. It all happens so quick, though. It's funny. It sounds easy when you break it down. It's everything seems to happen at a rate.
Yeah, and I suppose the best performers, the guys who take it really seriously, they'll probably practice visualization on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Where they're programming their subconscious mind, seeing themselves in different situations, seeing themselves taking that breath, and they experience it. When difficulties do arise, they're able to go with the flow.
Yeah.
So also you touched on being a parent of a child who competes. So I'm in.
Yeah. So it's just Yeah, it was Jess that really got me back into horse riding because she started off at 6. So I thought, okay, I'll join in. Let's have a go again. Got the bug again. And Jessica now is 10, and her and her pony have been competing for about 3 years, and she's moving up now. So she is starting to join some school leagues. There's the National Schools Equestrian Association. There's the British Show Jumping Just for Schools League. So there's a team of them in school, all of similar sort of age. And they, we go out and we compete against other schools. So they have an individual show jumping round, jump as their individual scores count as a team. So that's added another element. That's good fun.
Yeah. How does she respond to the horse? Is she quite relaxed in the way?
She's very calm. Yeah. So she's very, I can see why she does so well with the horse. She's got a very placid, calm personality. And something I've become aware of is my stress. Sometimes Jess has actually said to me, "Mummy, you're making me stressed." So there's a big message there, isn't there? I'm quiet now and just support her. I used to maybe stand there and say, "Jess, you need to go and practice your jump quick. You need, I'm sort of can see that she's going to be jumping in 10 minutes. You need to get a couple of jumps in." Yeah. But that just doesn't help when you're on your horse. If you've got someone there telling you things you need to be doing, it just isn't helpful. So now I don't say anything. I just trust she knows what she needs to do.
Yeah, no, you're right. I see that so much in other sports as well, where, whether it be parents or coaches can just over-instruct in a way. Yeah. And as you say, really, when you go into perform, you really don't want a great deal going on inside of your head. So, She should be working on, in her own way, she's walking around on Skippy, getting herself in the right mindset, and me standing there barking things at her isn't helpful, is it? I think, I really wouldn't like that. So I got that very quickly early on. I just remember this particular session. I thought, how do I think I'm being helpful there? I thought I was helping it as in, we're going to run out of time. You need to make sure you've got a couple of practice jumps in. But she knew that. Yeah. I wasn't helping. You mentioned there a little bit about like your own stressors, I suppose, in your life and your work and how that impacts you and then impacts her. In some ways, you've got the horse into the mix as well. It's like a three-way thing there.
Yeah.
So I suppose if there's any parents out there, I know there's been research done in this area as well, where actually understanding your own stressors and how you deal with them is going to actually positively influence your children. And
definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, I wish I would have got involved with the mental toughness assessment a long time ago. Before, my eldest is 13 and a half now, and she's a different personality from the horse riding child I'm describing, Jess. So she does get more anxious, and she's probably more similar to myself. Now, this could have really helped her years ago if I would have had this knowledge. We talk about mental toughness now, so I use this with my teenager that's not in the horse world as well. Definitely to understand yourself better it helps you to communicate better with other people and just ask the questions and take a step back rather than trying to tell people.
Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It is about asking the questions, isn't it? And trying to understand what their preferences are, things like that, as opposed to like not having that awareness and just tell.
Yeah. We assume, don't we, as parents, that they are, we know. And so your child can be so different from you in personality, so different. So it's,
one child, as you say, is going to be different to the other one. So they're going to have different preferences. So you need to be finding that out ultimately.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, I'm not perfect at all. So a lot of this, it's the holy grail for me to try and achieve this. I'm not saying I get it right every time. It's just my goal too. This is what I have in my mind when I'm with Jess or when I'm competing myself. I just try to be aware of the thoughts I have coming in and out. And if they're negative, I push them away and bring something positive in. Whereas when you're not thinking in that way, the negativity can take hold.
Well, what sort of going deeper here? What sort of thoughts do you experience then as the parent?
But it can just be it can be panic. So it's like you can't do this. Why? It's panic. So let's say you're in the mode, you're on your horse, you're warming up, but you're thinking, what am I doing here? I can't do this. Why am I doing this? You suddenly start questioning everything, why you're doing it. You don't want to be there. Very, very, for me anyway, that it could get that way.
And if she's competing though, what sort of might drive you there?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when Jess has been a bit, got a bit unsure of something. We had a setback the other week. She was at a competition and was ready to go in more or less after another rider. It was her turn to go and jump. And then a rider had a fall, a bad fall, and the paramedics were called. So it was like, right, we've got to have a gap here. There's a break. It's like an hour. You had to wait. And it got to the point, it was cold. We were sort of hanging around. And Jess, you could see, she was starting to say, oh, I don't know, should we just leave it? And I was like, I know, it is going on a bit now. I didn't know how long we'd be waiting there. So we said, let's just go put Skippy to one side, get you a chocolate bar. We just had a bit of a break from it. So I left it very open. It was like, right, there's the chance we might just not do this. We could just leave it. But anyway, then the paramedic did leave. The lady was fine. It wasn't a serious fall. It was just sometimes they have to be called. So she was okay. So everything was fine. Competition started again. And we'd had a chat. I just kept it lighthearted. We just chatted there with some friends. And they were saying, go on, Jess, you want to get in there? You want to do it? So, and then she sort of got the smile back on her face and was like, right, come on, we're going to do it. And it brought her back around. But some of the setbacks you see at competitions like this, it's literally as a big delay. It's suddenly you're ready to go in. So you're all hyped up, your adrenaline's there. And then there's a break. And that can be quite a psychological setback then. You go out of the mood for doing it. I think she'd lost can't be bothered now. Because it's exhausting, isn't it? Having that adrenaline just before a competition, you're ready to go. And then it stopped. You have to build up again. But she went in and she went absolutely fine. And she watched someone else fall off at the same jump. Just before she went in, another rider came off. So then that can play with your mind because you think that jump, there's something, why are people coming off at that jump?
Yeah, definitely. And then it can become in your mind and you're quite fearful about the whole thing.
Yeah.
I would imagine as well, as a parent, it can be quite difficult if you see your children struggle at something or make mistakes and things like that. How do you...
Yeah, well, with Jess's learning journey, I suppose, her pony's lovely, but not always straightforward, not easy. And she's had many a fall. I've watched her fall off. But she's been, you've obviously got all the safety equipment on, the back protectors, the helmet, the riding hat. So it's as safe as it can be for a sport that can be quite dangerous. But it's not very nice to see. However, how she handles it, she just gets straight back on. She can have sand in her face and everything, gets back on. And that is something that she tends to deal with very well.
Is that something you've had to try and learn to deal with better yourself, be your body language?
Yeah, it's not nice to see. It can make sometimes I think, there are easier sports, different challenges, but, it can seem quite dangerous. But then you hear of accidents of people and rugby, football even. My daughter's friend has hurt her leg with football. And I think, well, it's just part of life, isn't it? You have to build some resilience to things by doing things that push you out of a fear zone, comfort, or push you into a fear zone in a way.
No doubt about it. As you say, whether it's in sport, life, it is there. I suppose the difficulty sometimes for a parent when in that moment can be just how they react, isn't it? Whether it's their facial expressions, their body language, the way they communicate, and then how it can influence that child.
I've just always been very encouraging in that way. We'd say, are you okay to get back on? And if she wants to, she does. I don't push her to do anything. So there's lots of competitions going on every weekend. And we just don't have the time as a family to do everything. So, Jess she does quite a bit, but we are not out every single weekend competing. And again, I think I could possibly switch her off it if we went that way. It can sometimes be a bit too much.
Yeah, as you say, like having some sort of balance is important because, it'd be very easy just to, by the time she's 12, 13, she'd be burnt out. Yeah, exactly. You'll have some fun into it.
That's right, yeah.
So, from our conversation we've had, are you able to offer sort of 3 key takeaways that sort of summarise what we've talked about?
Yeah, I would say for me, and understanding more about mental toughness and the concept, I would definitely say to have a self-awareness of your own thinking puts you at a massive advantage. So, in trying to improve within your sport or even within your role in work, just to understand more about how you think is going to put you at an advantage. So it's not saying everyone has tough, it's not necessarily about that. It's about the self-awareness, because there's some very effective mentally sensitive individuals that they're self-aware, so they know how to manage it. I'm mentally sensitive when it comes to emotional control, but I manage it now, and I didn't used to. So we're usually a mix of both. So it's very good to have that understanding of yourself and where we are. And I would also say as well, to try and think positively and push negative thoughts away. That really works personally for me, to have certain little sentences or mantras, anything that's very simple, but it's just, yeah, we're doing this. I can do this. Whatever works for the person, just to calm yourself down and say, we're doing it. It almost makes the emotion irrelevant then. It's like, we're doing it anyway. So we can feel like this, or we can calm down because we're going to do it. And I would say breathing as well. Within sport, lots of different types of sports. I think when your breathing is short and shallow and out of sync, that can really affect your performance, can't it? Because you're just not getting the oxygen intervals. So yeah, some real good quality breaths in whatever you're doing, it really works.
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, meditation. There's the research out there, isn't there, about meditation and the benefits of it. There is. Regardless of whether you're a sports person or not. Yeah. So fascinating, and brilliant. Some brilliant takeaways there. Yeah, whereabouts can the listeners, get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
You can drop me an email. I'm on LinkedIn, so it's Maria Jeffers on LinkedIn. You can email me, maria@aqr.co.uk. Definitely happy to provide more information. As I say, it's been quite a game changer for me, just understanding how we think. And with all my background in personality assessment, I was always so focused on the behavioural side, which again it's very interesting. But let's take a step before that and understand what leads to the behaviour. And it's our thought process. So
most definitely. No, I like that. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, David.
Big thank you for your time. I really enjoyed that episode with Maria and tapping into her enthusiasm and expertise around mental toughness and coaching and performance psychology. It was really, really interesting, I found, when we were talking about the relationship between the rider and the horse, and how the internal dialogue that's going on in the rider's head and the feelings, the tension in their body is transmitted to the horse. And really, that is true in a lot of sports, especially team sports, where teammates, coaches, and the opposition can really feed off someone's body language and through their look, because of the things that are going through their heads, and obviously because of their behaviors, because of what's going on in your heads. So a little thought for yourself. Observe your thoughts in different situations. Think about the emotional experience that you're going through at that point in time, and then ponder your actions, whether be it your body language, be your energy levels. Really think about that and how that pans out, and whether it helps or hinders your performance. And if you're looking for other bits of advice, or if you want to reach out to me personally, why not join us at the Sports Psychology Hub? It's a growing Facebook group, which is getting bigger by the week. More and more people are in there. It's a very supportive environment. If you're not reaching out to me, certainly there's other people in the group who are really well qualified to answer any of your questions. So I hope to see you in there, and have a fantastic week ahead. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sport psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness, or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.